All right, guys, this is the painting technique video. You can do these painting techniques with liquid tempera or acrylic paint. Here are some of the techniques that I did during another demo. We got sponge, adding water to paint, stippling, ombre, scumbling, mixing paint on your brush to give a more like painterly approach, splatter painting, graffito, dry brush, and I'll probably show you a few others as well. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're gonna start out with just using a sponge for painting. So when you guys are working on your dessert paintings, if you want to use a sponge, I have a bunch of these little sponges here, and it kind of gives your piece like a textured look, okay? And it might be more fun if you overlap the colors when you're working with a sponge. So I'm also gonna get a little white, do some overlapping here, okay? And now I've got that textured look that I did with a sponge. And I'll hold it up so you can see it a little bit better. Okay. Another thing you can do with acrylic or tempera is you can kind of turn it into watercolor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of water on the surface of my paper, and then I'm going to go ahead and get some paint, and I'm going to add the paint into the water. I don't know if you guys remember, but this is actually called wet on wet, when you put down water and then you add some wet paint to it. Okay, called wet on wet. All right. So another one here is stippling, and that's when you basically are just creating a bunch of dots, okay, to create an image. Now, if you are familiar with George Seurat's A Day at the Park, that is all made out of dots. It's a big painting in real life, and it's made out of a bunch of overlapping dots. Use the technique called stippling to do that. When we refer to paintings that are made out of a lot of dots, we call them pointillist paintings, okay? And realistically, he probably was painting pretty quickly, more like this approach, okay? And he was overlapping those colors with a bunch of dots to make new colors. And when you do that from far away, your eye will naturally blend them, okay? But up close, you'll see the dots, okay? All right, so stippling, pointillism. All right, let's do an ombre, babe. So for that, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna take some blue paint, we're gonna put it down, okay? Now, different people do this different ways. I like to rinse my brush, and I'll add just a little bit of water there to the edge where I'm gonna mix it, okay? I'm gonna take my pink, put it down, work my way on up to the blue. Now when I get here, okay, I need to rinse my brush again, okay? Rinsing my brush, and now blend some more, okay? Now I've got my ombre. Let me hold it up so you can see it a little bit better. So I did a lot of rinsing of the brush. I got one color, I put it down, I added a little bit of water to the edge of the blue. Then I rinsed my brush and I grabbed my other color, I laid it down, started mixing in the middle, rinsed my brush, mixed in the middle, rinsed my brush, mixed in the middle, rinsed my brush, okay? A lot of rinsing your brush and mixing in the middle to give you that gradual gradation. That's what they actually call that, is gradation, from one color into the next. Okay, next one, we're gonna be doing some scumbling. So for this, what you're doing is you're going in a circular motion with your brush, okay? You're being thoughtful, you're not scribbling, okay? Going in a circular motion. And it's a great way to mix colors, but not like maybe completely, okay? And you can see those circular motions on your paper. Beautiful. Okay. Now, that's scumbling, okay? Another thing I want you guys to be familiar with is impasto, which is like when you're putting really thick layers of paint. Now this works better with acrylic and oil. The tempera paint, since this is a water-based tempera paint, it tends to, if it's really thick on your paper, or I mean on your canvas, it tends to actually crack. Now, acrylic won't do that, and oil, I mean, well, oil can crack, but generally it won't do that, but this tempera, it will, okay? So if you're adding a nice thick layer, just know, you know, when you're working on your dessert painting, that there is the possibility for it to crackle. Now, if that happens, you can kind of paint those cracks in. We can put like an acrylic gloss or an acrylic matte over it to make it not look so matte finished with a crackle in it, okay? So there we got the impasto. Another thing you can do is you can grab a couple colors on your brush. So maybe you dip it in some pink and some blue and some white. And then you let the colors just mix organically on your painting, okay? So you're leaving the control up to the brush, okay? Okay. Another thing, you can be a little bit more intentional about how you put the colors on your brush. So I see a lot of people do flower paintings this way. So they'll put a color on their brush, okay? Then they'll grab another color. Ooh. And then they will paint, and it'll kind of paint into, the brush will lay down like an ombre, okay? So I put white on one side and pink on the other side of the brush. These are the best kinds of brushes. These flat, oh gosh, there is a name for them, but they're flat and rectangular. These are the best brushes for that technique. Okay, another thing I'm gonna try out is some graffito. So I'm gonna lay the color down. Now you can use a stylus to do this. You can also use the end of your brush, just wash it afterwards. Okay, you can use a toothpick to do this, anything with a pointed tip. old pencil, but this is graffito. Okay. And then another thing that people like to do is a splatter painting. Now the splatter painting, if you want to do that in class, we have to set you up for it because I don't want you splatter painting all over other people's artwork and they don't want that, okay? So you have to set up for it. If you want to do that, we have to put your artwork in a box and do it that way. Okay, so if you're gonna do a splatter painting, you want a little water and a little paint on your brush. What you can do is just go like this, okay? I probably need a little bit more water. And this also works really good with toothbrushes, okay? So I do have toothbrushes if you want to try it with a toothbrush too. Okay, so there's the splatter painting. Last thing well, actually maybe not the last thing, but one of the other things I'm going to show you guys is just using a dry brush to paint, okay? Some people might like the way this feels. I don't like the texture of it, but you don't want much water on your brush, okay? And you can see that your brush is dry just from the brush strokes, how it doesn't completely cover your paper, okay? Just like that. Okay, that's called dry brush. You could also do that as a scumble. Okay, that. What else? Yeah, I think that's it actually. If I missed anything, I might have to make this video over again, and I hope I don't because it's already 12 minutes long. All right, happy art making.